is
Okay.
I want to see some like legit war movie vibes out of this because it's leading into a war. You
Yeah.
get to Rogue One and they're very much entrenched in a war. It is essentially Andor Eve. Star Wars Celebration is happening right now. So, like, the season has started. It is officially Star Wars season again. And it's fun to be back. Like, things are
Yes.
about to take off. And this is, like, the best time to be a Star Wars fan. So, today's our official Andor predictions. Kevin, Ryan, you guys excited for this?
Oh, so excited.
Yep.
Always
I'm
excited.
pumped. Really. We were talking about today just how hyped we are for Andor.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too hyped.
Right,
We'll
right.
see.
No, that's a good point. I think though this is the one show you kind of mentioned this when we were texting today, but like this is the one show I think you can be hyped about and rest assured it's going to be pretty good. So it's not like getting hyped and then being let
pretty
down like
confident.
Mando season 3 type of thing for me. So yeah, I'm really excited. What we're going to do today, so the way we do predictions here on Force with Friends, we like to keep it down to earth, but also not down to earth at the same time. So we have a variety of predictions. We're going to predict one, a thing that we want to see that might actually happen. Okay, so like a very logical, down to earth, I want to see this happen in the show, and I think there's a good chance that could happen. Another one is something, whether we really want to see it or not, something that we think the show's going to give us. So just a typical prediction, like, hey, I think this is going to happen in Andor season 2. And then the last one is the fun one. It's the, hey, this is like the crazy prediction, you hear it in, fan fiction type stuff, like way out there. If it happens, we need to like go buy a lotto ticket or something because it's that far out there. So that's where we're going today. We're going to start off, though, with the thing that we want to see. So I'm just going to go across order the way we are on the screen. So, Kevin, you're going to kick us off. What is one thing in this show that you want to see that is likely that it would happen?
Likely that it would happen. Okay.
According to you.
I got a Cyril prediction that I think is likely, but then there's kind of a tag on the end that's probably not likely. But is a really cool idea. But my likely prediction, let me see, I got my notes here. All right, so Cyril's a weird character. Like, I felt like at times it felt like he's in a different show than everybody else. Like he's just over here like doing desk work. He's like trying to get promoted in the Imperial ranks. Like his life is very different from everybody else in the show. And he doesn't seem like he's super relevant. But towards the end of season 1, he starts looking into some things. He starts picking up on some things. I really think that Cyril in season 2 is going to play a pretty big role in some sort of really big mess up for Cassian's crew. I think he's going to get onto something. I think he's going to figure something out. And I think it's going to be a really bad situation for Cassian. I think that's where we're finally going to see him be relevant because he's just been kind of hovering on the fringes. But he's here for a reason, right? This is a show where you don't just have this guy and his crazy life living with his mom now who's disappointed in him. And he's just trying to make the Empire proud, right? Like, it's a weird setup. And so I really think he does something big that is, I don't think we're seeing all victories for Cassian and his crew in this season. And so I think Cyril is going to be a big part of where something goes wrong for them. And so that's, I'm pretty confident that's going to happen. So we'll see.
Do you think he turns into like the big antagonist or just like maybe like a second fiddle to the big antagonist?
I think it's just his kind of stumbling through things. He's a pretty bright guy. Like he sees the details and he started picking up on some of the stuff in season 1. And so I think he's going to put some pieces together and figure something out that's going to put him in good graces with the Empire.
Yeah.
I don't think he becomes the big bad guy because I think we have those, and I think Luthen too kind of fills that role of borderline villain.
But
I think Cyril's going to have a big role, and I think it's going to present some problems for Cassian's crew.
That's fun. No, I like that one, especially because he's he's like a bad guy that would be easy to hate too, right? Because
Yeah.
he is so
Absolutely.
just like he reminds me of Gabe from The Office. I don't know if you know Gabe, like the guy
Yeah.
from
Who comes in from
when they buy Dunder Mifflin, whatever it's
he's
called,
supposed to like
Saber.
keep an eye on him or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, from Saber. Yeah, he's kind of like
Yeah.
Gabe, and he kind of looks like Gabe from The Office as well. But
That's funny.
no, that's good. And he's kind of remind me at the end of season 1, he's almost like a light version of the ISB, right? Kind of snooping around, doing things. So yeah, I think you may be onto something there. If they're going to give a good character development, they got to dig in on him. So I think that makes sense. Ryan, what do you think?
What I really want to see is, like the deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith, where some of the senators are coming together, like the early stages of the rebellion.
Yeah,
I hope we see more of those. I want those actually, and I think those are going to happen, and they're going to have Vale. I hope he's part of those meetings, and even bringing Leia in, because he's been mentoring her, and she eventually becomes part of the Senate. So yeah, I'm hoping we see a lot of that. We need that at this point in the series, especially as it's leading up, especially the last arc. We definitely have to see a lot more of that, because that's how it is all going by the time we see Leia,
Yeah, I was wondering, like, so you're thinking, I think I know the deleted scene you're talking about. You're talking about they're in, like, I don't know if they're on Polis, Massa, or if they're somewhere else in Revenge of the Sith, but it's Bail Organa, is Mon Mothma in the room as well?
Yeah.
And then are Obi-Wan and Yoda with them, or is it just them two and another senator?
It's a bunch of senators. I believe it's actually
a bunch of
Padme's apartment. Is
okay,
where they're holding it.
you're right.
Because they have to be sneaky. They're they don't want anyone to know about it, so it's like they're doing it undercover. So yeah, they definitely need a lot of that stuff, I feel.
So you think we're gonna see some like rebellion big dogs getting together and figuring stuff out?
We have to, yeah. I mean, this is like it's leading up to all this big stuff. We have to see it. It's everything that's been talked about. Like, with A New Hope, we've had a lot of things talked about. And we kind of we're like, okay, this happened, that happened. Now we have to see it. I feel like, if they're going to do a series like Andor that's leading up to A New Hope, we have to see all these things that have been referenced in
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're
cool.
100% right. Yeah, like we've got to get some rebellion backstory. And it's going to be cool because do we know how many years it skips in between each arc? Do we know? Is it like 1 year?
I think it's like 1. It's 4 years total. So yeah, so the end of the 4th year is going to be when Rogue One starts, which is A New Hope time.
Which would be the beginning of Rebels. The beginning of this would be the beginning of Rebels. So you're really getting heavy into that rebellion getting started deal right there.
Well, another thing that's really, like, timeline-wise, like, because in Rebels Season 3, that's when, like, Mon Mothma makes that speech from the Ghost.
Yeah.
About how she's no longer a senator and she's going to join this rebellion thing. It's supposedly in that show right after that Gorman massacre, which we assume we're going to see at some point.
Yeah.
But that's not until I think that's in 2 BBY. So really that's halfway through the show. So that gives us 6 episodes before we get to that point. So you got to think there's what is her character going to do up till that point? There's got to be a lot of political stuff. Which I'm excited about because the political stuff is fascinating. So I think the first half is probably just going to be all the politicking, which is exciting.
That's good. That scene could happen in live action.
That would be interesting.
Oh, wow.
Which we'll have to talk about in a minute because Ryan and I
think that may come later.
I love that.
Yeah, that would.
We'll see.
That would be so good. But no, Ryan, I think you're 100% right. Like, if you're, especially with as many years lead up as you've got, you can really, it's going to be crazy to see how they balance all this too. But the episodes are longer, like the run times are out, they're longer episodes. But I think they've got to dedicate probably 10 to 15 minutes of at least in each of these early episodes to setting up the rebellion and giving us some legs on that. So I'm excited to see that for sure.
Yeah.
So one thing, go ahead.
One of the things that's really interesting, do you think we get any tension between Mon Mothma and Saw? I think that would be
that would be great. We have to.
I don't know how much they'll be within the same scenes together, but that's a really interesting dynamic there.
So on
I hope we
ends.
see some of that.
So that'd be
That
great.
would be
You almost
interesting if we
have
get some of
to,
that.
because one thing I think when we've talked about this is we always bounce off where Rogue One
Mhm.
picks us up, right? Because
Mhm.
that's where this is
Right.
this is leading into Rogue One. It's which leads into A New Hope, but it's getting
Mhm.
us to Rogue One. And so in Rogue One, you just kind of in passing learn that Saw Gerrera is kind of crazy, So I think, and we get some of that in Andor, but I
Yeah.
think you've got to get some really like a good riff between him and the rebellion to
Yeah.
really separate the two. So I think we probably do see something to where she condemns his method of this
Yeah.
rebellion, if you will. It's
Yeah.
kind of out
Yeah.
there
I wonder
for sure.
if we see how he gets hurt.
That would be
That'd be
interesting,
interesting.
like why he's got the limp and stuff.
Yeah, because he's pretty messed up by the time we meet him in Rogue One.
I'm pretty
He's,
sure
Yeah,
they will. That's another thing.
Yeah,
he's like barely
That's-
breathing. He's got like a robotic leg.
He's like Vader
Yeah.
without the helmet,
Yeah.
essentially.
I bet something
He's
happens.
in rough shape.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it'll be
think this
interesting to see.
may kind of go into what I want to see that I think will happen is
Okay.
I want to see some like legit war movie vibes out of this, because it's leading into a war. You
Yeah.
get to Rogue One and they're very much entrenched in a war. So I don't know that early on it'll be that way, but I think by the end of this, especially if you watch that first Andor trailer, I don't know if y'all get like Vietnam War vibes, like when they're, the music they're playing and like they're going
Yeah.
over those fields and things like
Yeah.
that. You know how like all the old Vietnam War movies are kind of
Yeah.
similar to that. So it makes me
Mhm.
think we're going to get some like, okay, this is high stakes, an actual war going on in the galaxy. So I want to see like big scale battles, stormtroopers, rebels. I think you really need to see that if it's a rebellion versus empire show. You can't just dance around that.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that, and we could potentially, this is not anything I just want to see, but we could see how Saul gets messed up. It could be in one of these battles. It could be
It's true.
his
Yeah.
forces, the rebellion, and the empire, and maybe that's where the falling out happens too, is because his forces are kind of going against the grain. I think there's a lot of room for that late in the season, like a lot of battle scenes, because there's not a
Mhm.
lot of battle scenes in Andor season 1. So
Yeah.
I think you pay that off here at the end of this one.
I could see that happening. I mean, season 1, like there's that build up of conflict, right? Where you go from the heist to the prison break to then the
Yeah.
riot. So they could do that again and just build throughout the season up to something even bigger. That would be a really good payoff. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see a big
And I
battle of some
know
sort.
I know the ultimate payoff is on Scarif in Rogue One, because again, you always
Yeah.
got to keep in mind this is leading us to Rogue One.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting like this grand battle that the rebellion wins, and then all of a sudden Cassian's going into Rogue One and they've got to win some other grand battle like that. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think there has to be some kind of big army, battle going on. So I hope that's what we see. And just given from the trailer and things like that, I don't think it's far fetched to think we see that.
Oh yeah.
That's fair.
Don't know which planet we would see it on. That's where like you can really get into some cool lore there, depending on
Yeah.
Yeah.
where it is. So we're making good on time here. Let's go ahead and go in to something we think we will see. So safe bet, I think we will see this. Kevin, what is your thing?
All right. So safe bet. I think a lot of people die.
Yeah.
No, I think we could, this is a really safe bet. I think we continue to see this trend of like Cassian having to leave people behind, right? From his sister to Marva to Kino Loy. But that's also, it's interesting because that's also kind of the person Luthen wants him to be, right? Who's willing to sacrifice people to keep things going.
Yeah.
So I think we see him struggle with that. And I don't think it's, in season 1, it's not that people were necessarily sacrificing themselves for him. It's just he made it out and they didn't. And I think we see a continuation of that because, man, but if we do, that's a really cool payoff in Rogue One, where at the end of Rogue One, he doesn't leave the person behind, right? Like he's there and he's not the person that makes it out. He kind of finishes things in that battle.
Yeah.
So if we do see this culmination of continuing to having to be the guy who survives, the guy who keeps going, I do think that really enriches that Rogue One storyline in a really cool way.
No, that's true.
And I think it'll be really cool if that's how Luthen dies. Is if Luthen has kind of groomed Cassian to be him, and Luthen's end comes in Cassian having to make a decision to leave Luthen behind, to be who he's trying to get him to be.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be such
a
cool twist for Luthen to have to see, he is who I wanted him to be, and this is my demise now. I think that would be a really cool way to tie that in.
That would be incredible.
I think we definitely see Cassian constantly having to leave people behind and be the guy that survives. I think that's pretty safe. So
I hope that's the way that goes down for Luthen, because there's 1,001 ways he could go out. Right? Another earthquake. Y'all have earthquakes.
Yeah, I am on the fault lines.
Yeah. So no, that would be perfect for him, because I mean, when you see a character like that go down in cinema, that's the way it should be. You know, a lot of times that's the way it goes. I think that is a really logical way for him to go. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. Ryan, what do you think we're going to see?
I like what Kevin had to say. I hope he doesn't do that to Bix, though. I hope he doesn't. Oh man.
I think she ends up being tragedy. I think more so than like him having to leave her behind. I think the way she goes out is like kind of what emboldens him even more so into the rebellion. I don't think Luthen going out is like pushing Cassian even more towards the good. I think that's just something that has to happen. I think Bix is going to be that emotional one for him.
I think she's going to go out in a blaze of glory, honestly.
But we do know in Rogue One, he tells Jyn Erso, he's like, you're not the only one who's lost everything. And so Cassian's a guy who says he's got nothing, right? He's not there right now. And so unfortunately, that means he's got a lot to lose in this season.
Everything.
Yeah, right. Everything.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Ryan, what's your thing you think we're gonna see?
Wow, I don't know. I kind of lost my thought hearing what you had to say. I really liked everything you had to say. Well, yeah, just to say with Bix, I hope she doesn't have because I mean, like you said, Kevin, everyone, it's gonna be like Rogue One again. Everyone is gonna, unfortunately, all these characters that we've grown to really love. Yeah, I mean, it has to. It's the rebellion. I mean, like you guys said, man,
high stakes.
Yeah, it is.
The real question: what happens to B2?
Yes, that's a good one too.
Do y'all think?
Okay,
no,
that's
a good
one. The saddest thing.
Do you think he's gonna have bombs, bombs in him, and he's gonna?
I hope
blow
he
up
goes
a building?
into. I hope he's K2. That's what I hope.
I've heard that theory. He might get plugged into K2.
Wow!
Yeah, you know how they upload L whatever into the Falcon?
L3.
L3.
Wow. I hope that happens. That would be better.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
but K2 is not like a little sad
different.
droid, though. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's the case, but if it was, and B2 just has to grow into this droid that could whip anybody, and so he does become more confident because he's like an Imperial droid, then okay, maybe so. Right? His motivator chip might be changed. That's a thing.
You could update his personality.
You can change the motivator chip.
Yeah.
So that would be a cool thing.
Watching Rogue One then, if that was the case, and knowing that this guy's been with Cassian for a long time, that would be a cool thing.
B2 becomes
telling
tough
Cassian,
guy.
because when he dies in Rogue One and he says goodbye Cassian, that's much less important if K2's only been around for a year or two. But if it's B2 and he's been around for the long haul, that really makes that scene even better. So
which they've said that's what they're doing. They keep saying they're trying to tie things in and make things different for when you watch Rogue One. So who knows what that means?
That's what Diego said. He said watch Rogue One immediately after you finish
I saw that,
season 2, because everything's going to mean so much more. So he could
That's a cool idea.
B2. That would.
I have a really bad feeling that I'm going to watch all this, and then I'm going to have to watch Rogue One, and you can't watch Rogue One without watching A New Hope. So I'm just I've got to have 12 hours.
Be a day.
And I haven't done that. I know a lot of people did that. I never watched A New Hope after Rogue One ever. I know I need to do that.
It makes it so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already so good, but to me, it makes it even better. Kevin and I have talked about this. I soapbox about this all the time, but depending on your Star Wars viewing preference, A New Hope can be 2 different movies, depending on what you watch first. If you go Kenobi, or if you go the third act of Revenge of the Sith, the last episode of Kenobi into A New Hope, you're focused on the Force. But if you
Yeah.
go into Rogue One into A New Hope, you're focused on the rebellion. So it's really cool, like watching it from two different angles. That's
That
my
is really cool.
Star
I
Wars
like
TED
that.
Talk.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
Thanks for coming. But so I think we're to my favorite part of this, and this is where we have the propensity to ramble as Star Wars fans. We're to the thing that we are going to try to will into existence. This is our crazy prediction that likely will not happen, but as a Star Wars fan, we all have these. So we'll go same order. Kevin, what is your off the walls prediction?
Okay, I'm gonna defer one and kind of come back to a different one because I know Ryan's got a similar one to me.
Okay.
But going back to Cyril, like how cool would it be if he like becomes he gets in the Empire's graces and like the show closes out with like him getting stationed on the Death Star. I feel like that would be the perfect end for this character who's just like been so dedicated to this empire, and he finally gets his break, and like it doesn't close out with his death or anything, but what's next for him. Like he finally makes it. He finally gets what he wants, and he's stationed on the Death Star. That would be.
Gosh,
I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that would be like the perfect ending for that character.
Chef's kiss. It would be so good.
That's a little thing, but I think it would be his perfect ending. So,
you know how they wrap up Ahsoka, and it just kind of goes around hopping to different characters where they end up. So you've got Ezra doing the Hera, I'm home. You've got Balin finding the Mortis statues. You've got Shin leading the Neanderthals, and then you've got Ahsoka and Sabine there, on the planet. What if they do that here? So like it kind of jumps around. So there's a handful of people that make it. And Cyril's one of them. Let's say he's one of those people we just said. And his big ending scene is like going on the Imperial shuttle up to his new station at the Death Star. And he's just got like the big glow in his eyes and you know what's coming. That would be so perfect for his character. Like, yeah, eat it, Cyril. So I hope that happens.
He's very unlikable, but he's also kind of a sad character because I think he wants to do the right thing, but he can't see what the right thing is because of this obsession he has with order, right? Like to him, order is paramount, and so he's an interesting character.
To be fair for him, though, I mean, like the rebellion is the few, I mean, he's just a citizen, right? So what is he to think different? But yeah, I agree with you.
Serve.
Like, for what does Palpatine say of the Empire? For a safe and secure galaxy.
Oh yeah, yep. Oh, he's bought into that, right? Like he's all in.
No, that would be so good. And you have one we're coming back to. I do know that.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, what is your off the walls prediction?
Well, before my off the wall one, I kind of want to piggyback off what you said, Kevin.
Okay, yeah.
Like imagine we see everybody by the end of Andor, Cyril and other people being assigned to the Death Star, and then we watch A New Hope, and we're thinking they're on the Death Star while Luke and Han and everybody's sneaking around, or maybe they're telling this person, okay, you're gonna be a TIE fighter pilot. They could be in the battle with Luke. Like now I'm thinking of all this other stuff. That's going to be interesting if we see all that by the end of Andor. It's going to be like, it's going to connect it in so many ways. It's going to be really interesting.
That's a good point. By nature of the show, you can inject a lot of things without changing anything.
Yeah.
In the original movies.
Right.
Like that's a good point. I like that.
That's going to be fun.
It's a non-confrontational enrichment, right? Like, because Star Wars has tried to enrich things and stumbled. Like, think, hey, this is a great idea. And it's like, well, actually, maybe someone shouldn't know who Luke Skywalker is when he's a kid, right? Maybe that wasn't a good idea, like that type of thing. So this would be a good way to be like, oh, that's cool. Cyril got blown up on the Death Star. We know him. That type of state. We know Cyril.
That would be cool.
He lived with his mom and then got blown up on the Death Star.
He ate cereal.
He loved
he ate cereal.
Cocoa Puffs, whatever those things
were. But Outlandish, the Ghost Crew.
Yeah.
That would be interesting if we see them. Yeah. If they're like part of like some kind of Senate meeting or something. I don't know, just a rebellion, like a meeting like I mentioned earlier, having more of these meetings with the previous people that were senators, the Imperial Senate and the Ghost Crews there, or maybe just Hera, somebody. I would love if that happened. I don't know if it'll happen, but I think that would be a lot of fun to have them there, even if they're not talking. Just in the background,
just
in
there.
the back, just hanging out. Like in Rogue One, when they would have those councils.
Yep.
That would be cool. I would love that.
I think there's precedent for that because of Rogue One, right? Because you see Chopper for a split second. So, again, if Rogue One is our roadmap, it could happen and not take away from the story because Rogue One's already done it. They threw Chopper in to make us happy. So, and you see the Ghost too, right? In Rogue One, the Ghost is parked there on Yavin. So, or the fourth moon of Yavin. So, yeah, that would be a very fun thing to see. What if we saw Zeb? Because he's CGI. So you could just do that.
Yeah.
That's true. I would be all for it. I would love to see the Ghost crew. In some ways, it feels weird if we didn't, because they're so instrumental in this early stage of rebellion. Like we talked about earlier, like they're literally hosting Mon Mothma as she gives her resignation speech from the Senate. Like, that's a huge thing not to be an Andor, right? Like that moment of her stepping aside. So how do you sidestep that without it feeling missed and without including the Ghost crew? But it's got to be done the right way, right? Because those characters are so different from the Andor characters. Like,
they're rambunctious.
You don't want to mess up the tone of Andor, right?
No.
And so I just don't know, because I was trying to, and this is a question for you guys, because I couldn't think. Are there any in season 1 just like purely cameos, like characters who just pop up just to pop up
in Andor?
I don't think so.
They have
I think so.
Andor's version of that was in that like Luthen's little collection.
That
was all of the Easter eggs. Essentially, you saw like one of a Naboo headdress. You saw the Plo Koon respirator type thing. What else was in there? There was a lot of
Starkiller's helmet.
Starkiller's helmet was in there.
Cool.
There was a lot of Easter egg stuff there, but no appearances that were that way.
That leads me to believe they're not just going to throw them in there just to throw them in there.
Right.
But,
it has to be a reason.
They could fit, right? Because it makes sense for them to pop up somewhere. So if they do it the right way, I think it could be really, really cool.
If they do that scene in live action, that would just be so good. Cool. Yeah.
But I agree with you that it's outlandish just for that reason, because they haven't really just done cameos.
Yeah.
But again, done the right way, it would make sense. So I'm on board with you. I hope we see some sort of connection with the Ghost crew.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because there's been a lot of. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were talking. I apologize.
No,
sorry.
I said I like it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I apologize. But there's been a lot of TV spots and trailers, and I've been kind of watching them, but trying not to because I don't want to like see too much.
I'm the same way.
Huh?
I just said I'm the same way.
Yeah. I want it to be kind of go in as fresh and blind as possible. But have they shown? I don't think they've shown Yavin 4, right?
If they have, it's not been like just like, oh, this is Yavin 4. It's like a cut scene. You know what I mean? I've only seen that first main trailer.
There might have been one. I feel like there might have been one shot, maybe. I can't remember it. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because there's been so much. But it would be cool if, you could have the Ghost crew there. Like I mentioned the council earlier, like they were doing in Rogue One. You could have them there standing in the background listening in.
That is true.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're going to do it, I think that would be the best way.
Yeah.
But I do think, kind of like you said, Kevin, the reason it's outlandish is because they've kept this so contained, right? Like this, if you've looked at why Star Wars shows that Skeleton Crew, I think, is really good. Andor is really good. It sticks to its story and it doesn't care about the rest of the story. So it makes you wonder if it stays that way. But if they were to ever do anything like that, this is the time. This is like their only chance to do it live action.
Yeah.
So
I may not get another live action show in this era.
It would just have to be a flashback in Ahsoka season 2 of it. Otherwise, probably. So, man,
that'd be cool.
I hope that one happens. I think I hope that one happens more than I hope my crazy one happens.
What is it?
But I did forget to say what I think will happen because I got caught up into y'all's. They were so good.
Yeah,
I think they give us some resolution on Andor's sister. I think the story starts there. Like Andor starts with him in a brothel trying to figure out where his sister's at. So super strange way for a show to start and then just never pick it up again at all. So So I don't know. I mean, I get that that's kind of what gets him going, and they just need something to get him swept into this big thing. I get
Right.
that, but I think there's got to be something there. Not that we're gonna like he might not actually find her. You know, it might not be okay. I
No.
found my sister. Here she is, happily ever after. I know that's not gonna happen, but I think you get some sort of information, mention something like that, because it's really weird if you start this story that way and never like give you some kind of closure on it. I don't know. So I think that's a logical step there. As far as my crazy prediction goes, and I'm reading it off my notepad here, I wrote all the studs in one scene. So we're going to have, I picture this being, it could be a hologram scene. It could be on a Star Destroyer, could be on the Death Star even. Probably not on the Death Star, but it could be. I think we're going to have Palps as a hologram.
Yeah.
Vader's going to be in the room. Tarkin's going to be in the room, kind of like a New Hope, you know. Krennic, I think, is going to be in the room, because you've got to have the Vader, Krennic, Tarkin relationship, because you can, if you go right into Rogue One, it's just like, wow, they hate each other.
Yeah,
I think we're going to get a little bit of this this hate triangle here, where Vader just hates all of it. Tarkin hates Krennic, and Krennic hates Tarkin, and Krennic's like, hey, I think I could get Vader to hate Tarkin. So I think we get a little bit of that here.
We have to.
Also, I think it could happen. But where it gets crazy, though, is I think Galen Erso might be in this scene somewhere as well. And maybe even Grand Admiral Thrawn. I don't know if it's like mentioned or if it's him on the screen. But I think it would be, because this would have to be before the end of the season, because by the end of the season, Thrawn's already been sent off with Ezra. So I could see it, maybe if it's not him, they could just be talking, like they could name drop the Battle of Lothal, and they could say, well, we've lost Thrawn. This is the Death Star's our thing. Like, we've been handed a big defeat, because Lothal is a big defeat for the Empire. So I think it would be so fitting, even though this is probably not going to happen, that they make mention of all that, and then all of them are like, hey, all the chips are in on the table on this Death Star, because this is kind of where we're at against a formidable opponent. It would be so weird if they never talked about how serious the rebellion is. Like, because you've got to give the rebellion some legs too. And so they think the rebellion's a threat because they've got a Death Star to keep rebellions down. So, I mean, I think it'd be cool to see all that.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I apologize. Like I keep getting these thoughts and I get excited.
No, you're fine.
Did you say you started Lost Stars, or you have it?
I've started it a couple times. Haven't finished it.
They do have to go really heavy with conversations about the rebellion. I agree with what you said, because in Lost Stars they are really looking at the rebellion as this big terrorist group. Like, for us, we're like, oh, they're the good guys, because that's how they show us in Star Wars, in the original trilogy. It's like, oh, these great freedom fighters. But the rebellion, like, seriously. And also, the planets that are brainwashed into believing in the Empire, they all look at the rebellion as terrorists. So that would really be cool if we had conversations like that about the rebels, too. I think
they've got a lot of ground to cover.
They do. There's so much.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And I totally forgot about Galen.
Could be some really cool scenes, multiple.
Yeah.
Because previously, I would have been like, no, there's no way they're throwing all these people. But as soon as we got Krennic, I feel like now it's suddenly possible, because we know he's in that inner circle who's communicating with Vader and Tarkin and the Emperor. But that would be really cool. I like that you brought up the Battle of Lothal, like just the infighting that could be going on. It's like, well, your Inquisitors couldn't handle one little Jedi kid, right? Now it's like, now we lost Thrawn, right? Yeah. Just the level of pettiness between that group as they try to vie for the Emperor's graces. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So I really hope we get some of that, because it's like almost the opposite end of the political spectrum, right? Where Mon Mothma is trying to navigate this thing secretly. And then over here you have just these head guys just all fawning over the Emperor's graces, like trying to make each other look bad.
Yeah. That's gonna be
I would love to get some of that. So I think it's possible now because we have Krennic in there, but that would be really cool. I would like that.
Yeah.
Well, and it would be, how Palpatine would deal with that too would be an interesting thing. So say he's talking everybody down. I'm assuming Tarkin would be the one who gets elevated, but his elevation actually happens in Rogue One. So the more you think about it, like how things go down in Rogue One, if anything, if they went that route, it would be more so like kind of condemning Vader and then, giving this whatever project with Krennic, and Tarkin's would just be kind of like, I'm going to swoop in on this. So the more you talk about it, it is very unlikely because you would have to just really dig very deep into a non-Andor story. And I think they are going to keep it focused on Andor. But if they just made mention of this, or it was like a 2-minute scene or something here and there, I think that would be cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we already know, like, because we've seen the Death Star in some of the shots.
Oh,
and even in some of the talking, like, they're acknowledging they have this weapon. Like, the rebellion already knows about it. And so with it being a central part of this story, like, I could see where this would happen, right? Because the Death Star is present. It's not just you could argue it was kind of a cameo at the end of season 1.
It was,
where it pops up and it's like, oh, they were building, the prisoners were making all these things for the Death Star. But it's not that way in season 2. Like, it's kind of a core part of this plot now. So I could see something like that happening. Like, I like that idea.
I was gonna say, have they confirmed whether Galen Erso would be in the show or not? I'm going through IMDb and I don't
think so.
I don't see that anywhere. I haven't heard too much about it. They keep, this is pretty straightforward, professionally run here for Andor, so a little bit less of that maybe than other things. But yeah, I think it would. I feel like he has to be in it. Galen Erso probably has to show up at some point, unless you just strictly say no, that's part of Jen's story. But yeah, I could see it either way. But I mean, given that the Death Star's a thing, he probably has a line or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you've read Catalyst, I mean, he's indispensable to the Death Star, right? Like, he's a core reason why it works. Which is why they go and kidnap him. Like, they have to have it.
I do have that book though.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
That's what I've heard. But isn't there's 2 Mickelsons. It's Mads, right? Who plays Galen.
Mads is Galen, and then
the brothers.
Lars is
Thrawn. But so Mads, I think it's just a signing, but he's going to be at Celebration, so maybe he is.
Oh, he's for sure going to be in it then.
Yeah.
They tip their hand so hard when it comes to these things. They're like, oh, hey, have y'all read Dark Disciple? And then it's like, oh, look, there's Asajj and the Bad Batch.
Asajj is back.
We're going to promote this 10-year-old book. I wonder why.
They're being very strategic with it. With the signings.
Yeah,
it's funny.
If he's showing up there, that I think for sure he's probably in the show. Also, they filmed. Yeah, I mean, they filmed all this in London as well, right? And most of the people that are in Star Wars live in London, so I think it's really easy to get some of these people in when it's like, a really quick ride over to the studio. So, I mean, this episode that we just filmed, it's going to come out Saturday. Like, it'll just be a few days away from Andor, which is so much fun. I can't believe it's here. I mean, finally.
It's crazy.
Like a 2.5-hour movie. This release schedule is crazy.
It's gonna be fun.
It's a movie every week. That's
that's wild. Yeah,
and I don't stay up that.
It's gonna be a lot. So it's gonna be a lot to cover every week. So
I think our coverage schedule will probably stay the same. If we can all watch it by like Thursday, we can talk about it Thursday night. I think maybe we can pull that off. That may determine which of the 3 of us you see on screen every week. Determining which one.
Yeah. That's going to be
actually able to watch it.
Yeah, actually got to watch it all. But yes, this is like so much fun. I cannot wait for Andor in a few days. Do y'all have any parting words for the season?
I feel like I'm going to have to go radio silent Saturday with Celebration because I know they'll probably get some glimpses and stuff. Like, I don't want to know. So I don't
have to go radio silent in 90 minutes, Kevin. It starts in 90 minutes.
I know. That's true. I don't want to hear any reports on all the because I'm so excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. I'm confident. Like, kind of like we talked about at the beginning. I'm confident they're going to do a really good job with this and finish out these stories and these characters really well. So
I can't stay radio silent because I'm in a group chat that talks all the time, all day with like 7 people that are at Celebration. Yes.
Wow.
I will be watching.
Me, Will.
I'll be watching it all, and I'll try not to text you. I know we text every day as well, but I'll try not to text you about
Don't do it.
any of this. So, my last parting word would just be fight the Empire, and we'll see you guys in a few days.
Peace.